Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Jake Karls of Midday Squares, who flew over specially from Canada to be with us in London for a live event co-hosted with Perfect Ted. If you haven't listened to the first part, that was dropped last week. And if you just scroll back one episode on your favourite podcast app, you'll find it, where we go through all of the ways that both Midday Squares and Perfect Ted have scaled their incredible businesses. This part is all about the Q&A session that we held afterwards in the live event. Tune in because there are so many amazing answers, loads of insight, loads of value given by both Jake from Midday Squares and Shani, who took over from Marisa after she had to leave. You're going to have so much value in this. Dive in. So look, let's open up to Q&A, either for Perfect Ted or for Jake. Stephen from Ombar.
Steve from Ombar, great to see Jake and Shani as well. So it's got to be chocolate for the first question. Because I came about because when I started working with chocolate, because your content is obviously it's so top draw. In terms of like the vulnerability and the rawness and building families and community, obviously setting the kind of bar and obviously kind of following that. But as more and more kind of challenges, whether it's in this room or outside of the room, kind of follow that kind of template, how do you think the comm strategy is going to change going forward?
Yep, great question. So thank you for following the journey. And first of all, chocolate's going through hell right now. Cocoa is in a disaster in terms of pricing, highest pricing in 100 years, and almost killed their whole business last year. But from a content perspective, I think that you got to keep reevaluating. So what we started was, we were filming our condo kitchen, the underdog story of like 3 crazy people starting a chocolate company, hand delivering products, going to the stores, meeting the consumers, showing them that side of the story. But then when you go to another country and they're like, we didn't see that side of your business. Who are these people? What are you showing me? It becomes very hard and unrelatable to the consumer. So it's almost ineffective, right? You can't tell that underdog story over and over and over again. Things change. So I think now what's happening is we're at the level where it's like, hey, what's the new strategy? Who are we now? What's the new identity of Midday Squares? And it's not so much that it's about Jake, Nick, and Leslie, my partners that we've been showing for the last 7 years. It's now, what does Midday Squares represent as a brand? What do we want it to represent? So in the content, for us, number one is we want to evoke an emotion of boldness or like confidence or this brand is wildly unapologetic. And when you have that, then the brand now represents something based on that. So our content has to now be reversed into that feeling. So it's like, it's still authentic. It's just, we're not showing necessarily all therapy sessions all the time. We'll now show bigger campaigns that are more relatable to, everyday folks all over if they didn't know us at the beginning, but that represents boldness. And what that does is it still makes people feel something deeply about the brand. And I always go back to like a brand like Nike. I love Nike. Nike's been telling their story of, powerful human stories, right? The achieving greatness story. And that is their story that continues to evolve. And you see it's evolved from 10 years ago till now. It's slightly different, but it still represents the achieving greatness as a whole. When they have the comeback story of Tiger Woods coming back from his hardships or Serena Williams becoming one of the best tennis players, they tell the story of that whole person and they tell someone else's story after that, right? So I think as we go, we're going to keep telling the bold story. And it's very hard because as a business, if you don't continue to evolve, you become more and more irrelevant. The one thing that matters, though, to storytelling is human nature is emotions don't go away. Feelings is something that will be here forever. That's based on human nature, right? So if you can continue to do that as a business, it doesn't matter if you're telling that underdog story or you're making it about David versus Goliath or you're making it about, bold, it makes someone feel something. But if I told you that this had protein and fiber every day, you'd be bored as hell, right? So we'll never do that.
That is fabulous. You said in one of your recent podcasts, or the podcast that you were a guest on, that on the journey to 100 million, your job is to make you as co-founders, your job is to make yourselves irrelevant.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
How many of you are still relevant in your day-to-day operations? So, yeah. Okay. I'm not relevant anymore, almost irrelevant in my day-to-day in the sense that this was my dream. It was my dream is that I don't want to build, we built our manufacturing plant. We had to do all this stuff that was actually pain every day. It was just hardship and pain. Welcome. I like your knapsack. It is a beautiful knapsack. Pain. So what we did now is my dream with my partners was we've succeeded in business if this business runs without us. And what I mean by that is that it's not reliant on Jake, Nick, and Leslie to be a business. That if we could build it so that it's profitable, it's innovation that's coming out, product market fit, there's storytelling coming, and it's not required that we be there or that we're the ones driving it, then we've succeeded. And the way to do it is just build a successful team that believes in this vision that you've put forward. And that's what we've done, is we put forward a strong vision And our team that we've now hired and built is running the organization. We go away now. I'm in London and I'm not getting a phone call about any problems. 2 years ago, a year ago, we'd have to come back home. We'd fly home the next day and deal with the problem because the cavalry ain't coming to save you ever, right? So today, that's not like that. Today, our team is strong and they're running the company. We have a COO, CFO that named Vanessa. She runs the entire organization. So we're irrelevant. All we are is these speaker phones for the organization and relationship builders. But the day-to-day, the machine is running. And it's been a huge stress reliever on us.
What size do you think a business needs to start thinking about that?
I give the hockey comparison.
Yeah.
So any of you play hockey here? Is it a thing here?
Not ice hockey.
So
field hockey.
Football, soccer. I don't know
Football,
what the hell you
soccer,
guys call it. Anyways, hockey is my thing. Canadian, right? But when you play hockey, there's different leagues, and I'm sure in football there's many different leagues as well. But there's
We've got some serious footballers in the back here. Woo!
Yo, football's insane. Football's insane. I went to a Montreal Impact game the other day, and we were playing against Messi. That guy's insane. That guy, everyone's just like cameras out the whole game. Didn't even watch it. Crazy that they didn't watch the game and they were just focused on their cameras. But whatever. Long story short is I compare it to sports. So hockey, you have the ECHL, which is like a junior league. Then you have the AHL, which is the junior pro league. So it's the pro league right before the highest league. And then there's the NHL, which is obviously the highest league, and then maybe Olympics, if you consider that a higher league. But different phases. You have your ECHL team that can get you through the ECHL games. You have the AHL team that can get you through the AHL, and then you have the NHL team that gets you through the NHL. We're now transitioning between AHL and NHL. And what that does is it changes everything. Your business from 5 million to 10 million is very different than 10 to 20 million. 20 to 100 million is extremely different. And you need different types of expertise and different types of folks to whether work with you or be part of your organization to get you there. Otherwise, it's impossible.
You know, I was interviewing David Lester from Olipop yesterday.
Legend.
Yeah, and the second time, actually, it's not out yet, so you guys are getting all the inside information before anyone else. But he was saying exactly the same. He said, he even said, I'm the kind of person that brings the business to whatever it was, 500 million or a billion, but that is not in my skill set to bring it bigger than that, and that's okay. And I thought, yeah, Jesus, that is okay.
Yeah.
But this is one of the unsaid things in the room. We were talking earlier, for those of you who've come in later on, we were talking about, the things that are unsaid in business and how as leaders and founders, you need to lean into the things that are unsaid between you and your team and say, okay, maybe this person was great for the first 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, but maybe they're not the person to bring us to 5 million or 10 million.
Going to build.
Oh, 3.
Okay, 3. Okay, I didn't know how old this was. Still,
4 years old.
She's part of the NHL, right? But what I think is critical is what David said is like, for me, like, I actually had a huge therapy session about this because I missed the early days. I actually missed the days where my role was to actually make the bars and hand pack them and then hand deliver them because we couldn't afford shipping. Like, that was the moments of like, it was emotional, deep emotion. Like, you're grinding from 5 a.m. till 12 a.m. every day, rinse, repeat, and you're doing it for like $50 a day total. And I missed those days, and my therapist told me that it's a different level. You can't go back to that, unfortunately. Like, things have changed. And accepting that change was really difficult. But I now realize that my greatest skill set is not 100+ million billion business. It's actually the 0 to like 10 million where I could do the most damage. And knowing that now in my future, wherever Midday Squares goes or wherever my next journey will be, I know that I want to play in that part specifically because that's where my skill is and that's my strength, rather than now, when it gets to bureaucracy, I'm not as good in that. It's not really who Jake is. Totally and agree. Knowing that is your strength, right? Totally the same. So thank you to therapy again.
I'm thrilled to introduce Brand Growth Hero's newest partner, Jolson. Jolson is a leading B Corp certified commercial law firm that specialises in guiding the founders of scaling CPG brands. With long-term relationships with clients like Little Moons, Trip, Eat Natural, Bear, Graze and Pulson, Jolson is also famous for advising the Innocent founders in their landmark sale to Coca-Cola. And believe it or not, they still work with the Innocent founders at Jam Jar Investments today. I'm especially impressed by how Jolson sets founders up for long-term success and by their commitment to championing female founders. Recently, I asked one of Jolson's managing partners, Paul Chappie, a tough but crucial question. Should co-founders discuss, right from the start, what happens if one of them wants to leave the business?
Absolutely. I mean, with any joint venture, that's what a sort of co-founder relationship is. you've got to be very clear from the outset as to what each party is bringing to that business. Look at the skill sets, look at the time commitment. I often see founders coming where, one founder might have a full-time job. They're still getting the same amount of equity. And you can see immediately that there's an imbalance in that relationship that they either haven't looked at or are ignoring. And eventually that will come home to roost. So I think the key thing is to look at, what are we bringing? What is that future going to bring? What are the things that, if I have to go and look after kids or have to emigrate somewhere, what's going to happen to this business? What happens to my equity? All those questions need to be thought through, discussed, and contractually you can then just draft those provisions into that contract and set that relationship on a firm footing.
Huge thanks to Brand Growth Heroes podcast sponsors Jolson. Now let's get back to the show. Some more questions.
Sorry,
Lauren from Otsu. Woo, Lauren!
Hiya, I'm Lauren, I'm the founder of Oatsu, so we're the first brand in the UK to offer both chilled, ready-to-eat overnight oats and also just add milk overnight oats. I came by your guys' stand at Expo West last year, and your team's energy was incredible. I have two questions. So I'd love to know, overnight oats in the UK is quite a new category. We could go into yogurts or plant-based dairy or food to go, and I know you guys part of creating the category of chilled bars, and I wondered, at the beginning, was that an established category for you? Do you have any advice for, I guess, being one of the first in that space, if the buyers aren't necessarily sure where to place you? And then my second question was about, I've seen all you guys' videos at driving people to the stores in Costco, which is amazing, which is awesome, and I just wondered, do you have any advice for brands, speaking to Costco, how did you approach that whole launch? Was the video a really key point to you? Was there anything else that you thought about?
Number one, congratulations. Can we get a round of applause? Let's do a new category. It's not easy.
And she didn't say, she just won a massive competition to have a TV ad. So she's got her own TV ad coming out, and that's national competition.
It's a very big category in the US. Some of my friends are in it, and they crush it. When you're ready, you should come and enter the journey there when you're ready, and is the key. But I think for you is the fun part about it is it's new. And when something's new, that means there's mystery and people like mystery. But I think that when you're pitching your buyers, I think, talking about what we did was basically how this is where the future is moving towards. And we would accumulate data from, actually the US had the category. So we'd show that category was already building and growing over a significant amount of time, because that basically de-risks the concept to them, saying well, will this sell? Well, do people actually want this? No, it doesn't matter if they love it, but do they want it? And I think that was number one that helped. And the second part was we went and leaned into retailers. So let's say there's this retailer named Tao in Montreal, 6 stores, health food stores. The owner listened to our pitch and everyone else rejected us. He took a chance. He's like, I'm going to give you guys a chance, and I'm going to give you a real chance. And he believed in our story. We went and we pitched him. And I'll never forget, he gave us multiple facings and multiple different sections within the store to try on our launch. And he told his team that we are going to try to help this business win, because they are giving everything they have to this business and they are hustling, and I respect that. And since that moment, our whole business changed, because we learned where we need to be in the store, number one. That blew us up from a new customer trial perspective, because we actually had visibility. We had multiple facings in a category that there was nothing, right? And then the third part was we told our story, and we used this case study. So every time we got a retailer, we would show how well we did. So we would actually build out loud and show it on LinkedIn, where specifically a lot of the buyers spend time on. And what ended up happening was there was a sense of FOMO, because other retailers would be like, oh wait, this brand is doing well at XYZ, maybe we should list them. And then you go reach out to them, and you already have leverage at that point, because A, you're making noise, people are engaging and cheering you on. And then number two, you already have data from the other store. So you could use that. And then we kept on multiplying that. And then soon refrigerated bars became a thing in Canada, but we had to cross the country doing that over a 3-year span. Now, the only problem with us is now it's in multiple destinations in the store. So one store it's in dairy, one store it's in produce, one store it's in deli and meat. It's horrible. So the consumer is a scavenger hunt. But in the US, they built a category, so it's all in one section. So we actually do a lot better there, simply because there's a destination compared to the scavenger.
Because it already existed, right?
Yes, but Costco, our story was critical to that. When we went into Costco, we were told no for 3 years. And they just said that their members, they don't think their members want it this product. And what we did was we asked them, we begged them for everything. They said no. The one thing they told us we could do, though, is a roadshow, Costco roadshow, which was basically where you sample your products. I'm sure they do it here too. They sample the products and then people could buy it on the spot. There's no risk to them other than, hopefully you showing up and being respectful, which you are and your team probably is. And what we did was I asked them, what was the record? What was the record amount of sales that someone's ever done? And they laughed and they told us the number. I'm not going to say it because I get in trouble probably from saying it, but it was a significant number. And I said to the buyer, dead to their face, I said, we're going to break that record. And he was shocked. He's like, no, basically. And we broke the record. What we did is we used social media, we gamified it. We told our team and everyone, local press, this is one of the most meaningful moments for us testing into maybe getting into Costco. And because of all that hype, because of all the winnings, the breaking the record, they ended up listing us nationwide because they had no choice. Their members wanted the product. And I think that if you could figure out ways to de-risk these buyers, whether that's investment into their category, and whether it's investment into trade marketing, whether it's just, BOGOs or whatever it is that you can do, you give them a chance to want to take a chance on you. And then once you have that chance, you go guns blazing, you give everything you have, but don't rush into multiple retailers. One at a time, build it, tell that story again, do the next one, tell the story, and again and again and again.
Shani, can I ask you to build on this? Because one of the things we used to talk about a long time ago was maximizing sales in the top 10, 50, 100 stores and using data to support that, and not just assuming that just because you've got distribution in whatever retailer, that it's just all going to happen. Talk to us how you activated the sales in the stores that you were supposed to be in so that you did beat all of those rate of sale.
Well, I will say, first of all, on your question, we had a very similar question when we launched because we were an energy drink, but we were obviously leveraging matcha as an ingredient. And because we were so new and matcha wasn't a category, buyers would ask us, okay, well, what are you? Are you a functional drink or are you an energy drink? Where are you sitting? And I remember being in the office and we were like, we don't know. Are we a functional drink or are we an energy drink? And at that time, we actually looked at the data and we were like, okay, where is the biggest category and where's the biggest opportunity to disrupt? And we were like, okay, we're just going to go big and we are going to double down on energy, even though actually probably people would have said to us, it's safer to play in functional because maybe you're going to have a buyer who is going to understand you a bit more, maybe give you a bit more time. Sports and energy is obviously a massive category dominated by huge players. But we were like, actually, no, I think what we can do is we think we can bring a different kind of consumer to that category and we think we can drive incrementality. And that's what we doubled down on. It's very similar with hot beverages as well, because that's another category that we play in. And when we released our matcha pods, they said, okay, should it sit in the coffee pod section or should it sit with your matcha powder? And so what we did is we leveraged our community and we said, this is a product we're launching, where would you expect to find that in store? And then we took that data back to the buyer to help dictate, and that's definitely...
What did they say?
Coffee pod section.
Okay.
Yeah, not next to the matcha powder. So that's where we went, and that's worked really well for us, and that data has definitely proven the case. On the top store question, we really focused on a field sales team. At the beginning, that was literally just me and the founders. So we had a situation where we went on Dragon's Den the same week that we launched into Tesco in the meal deal in 1,200 stores, which was really hard because we also went on the planogram. So if anybody knows, that means you're literally, when the store is putting you out, they're you are not on our little map in store, so we don't know where to put you. So that was crazy. And I used to call Fee and I was walking in the rain through parks, going to 30 Tesco stores a day. And I'd be like, yeah, just hanging up store number 22. And for us, it was about focusing on those core stores and making sure just availability. And then outside of that, we actually have an amazing field sales exec called Anita. She's amazing. And she will go in, she'll create these amazing relationships with the store managers, very similar to what you've done. And she'll go, okay, what can we do? How can we hype up the team? How can we get them to know about the brand so that when they see that case, they go, okay, that's perfect, Ted, we're going to replenish you. But also sometimes they'll say, yeah, we actually would really love if you come and sample in store. So we'll set that up, sample in store, and then we take that feedback and we use that internally as well.
It's incredible.
Store managers, critical.
Yeah.
You nailed it. They literally have the power to take your product and they know the spots that are not planogrammed. So the spots that are not planogrammed, they could take it and put your Perfect Ted or Midday Squares or your product in that extra case. That extra case can be the data change for your entire next pitch.
We don't have that in the UK.
You don't?
No, that's really fascinating. You guys have that. Is it in America and Canada?
Yeah, I go.
Can you imagine unplanogram space?
No, but it's minimal. It's minimal plates.
It depends which retailer, but you can get away with a few things here and there.
We have a guy named Steven, legend, that works with us, and he literally will go to like even Costco's and he'll speak to the store manager there and amp them up, tell them our story, because people care about stories because they're humans as well, just like we are. And they'll be like, well, we want to help you guys. We actually have extra room right now in this end cap fridge. We'll put you there for 2 days. Those 2 days is thousands of dollars. And that's units, right? The buyer doesn't necessarily see that where the product was. Yeah. They just see the units sold. So I would say if you can go into stores and spend maybe an hour a day, and some people criticize me for saying this, I think you taking your time to travel in the rain, which UK obviously it rains a lot, which is probably one of the reasons why I can't move here, but no, I'm kidding, it's a gorgeous place. But I like sunlight. But if you can go into the stores, it shows that you not only care, but you respect. You are grinding as an individual. Like we all love that. Like when you see, that's why Shark Tank's success is because you're seeing people in a vulnerable state trying to pitch and hustle and nervous, and they're trying to build something, a dream, right? Go share that dream with the managers, and if they can put you in those stores, I tell you, the volume that you get from it is crazy, and it worked for us.
That's so true.
I guess you guys too.
Some more questions. Emily from Mighty Slice.
Do you do pizzas, by the way?
We get a lot of people asking.
Mighty Slice.
It's the cheesecakes, the protein
hot,
cheesecakes.
yeah.
I showed Jake your stuff.
Yeah, hot packaging and like cool box.
You'd buy it,
sexy,
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You're going to find it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll post that on Instagram. That's Instagrammable.
Good.
I'm really fascinated by the placement, just that you've been speaking about, particularly the difference between Canada, where there wasn't this category, you had to like educate the consumers, and Shani probably similar with like the energy drink space as well, compared to like the US where you've got like perfect bars, motion, like there's a category pre-existing. Like, what were the key levers that you guys found moved the dial the most when you were going into Canada, and there like wasn't that education for the consumer? It didn't really work.
Because similar issue going on here.
Hype. It's going to sound weird, but our first retailer was, I don't know about you guys, but it was a local bagel shop. It was an individual that I knew. I asked him if he could take it on on free, consignment, I think it's called. And when he said yes, my team did everything in its power to drive the consumer there. So what we did is we posted on our personal accounts, which we had 100 followers each, maybe. I asked family and friends, my text groups have like 10, 15 people, show up, go get it. And what it did was within the first hour and a half, it sold out. And he was like, what the hell? Did it again, same thing, sold out again, told that story. Next thing you know, I had salad bars, juice bars, coffee shops saying, we need your product. Boom, created that momentum. So what ended up happening was when we did those local spots, it was in a fridge, right? And it was next to beverages and stuff like that. So we started to get like, yes, it's a consumer that's on the go. So then when we pitched the retailers that were actually grocery stores, we say, guys, it needs to be an on the go region. Because it was new to them. They're like, what the hell is a refrigerated chocolate bar? It's weird. And I was like, no, guys, look how well it's doing X, Y, Z. And we're going to now drive tons of influencers, tons of media to your thing. And everyone wants to be on social media today. Most people, at least in businesses, do. So giving them that was something that at least helped us get the foot in the door. But once you're in, you got to be very careful, because once your buyer's set on your product, he or she may not move your product, even if it means more optimal in a different location. You might have hell and back to get that there because it's their dollars now versus somebody else's dollars. And we're still in a major retail, I'm not going to say their name, that is a huge retail partner of ours that could be at least double the money, double. And I'm talking about in millions. By simply moving it from where it is, next to cottage cheese makes no sense, chocolate bar cottage cheese. It doesn't even make sense, and they know it doesn't make sense, next to a grab-and-go area. And the buyers doesn't want to give it up. And guess what? You're in. They're not going to fight their own teams for that. So be very cautious where you go into and try to understand where you learn from as a consumer where you'd want to buy this product. Your cakes, in my opinion, should be chilled next to the desserts. But again, you do like something like Stacy's pita chips. They'd put next to hummus, so you could change that and put next to cottage cheese. Maybe be interesting. We could switch.
Cottage cheese would be perfect.
I know what you guys did.
By the way, Emily, yesterday I was at a female founders event up in Edinburgh, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women there, okay, and all the female founders, like, organizations were present. And we came out for break time, and there was nothing to eat other than Borders. You know, those Borders biscuits in the little sachets, which are nice, but, these were like women who care about, they're women of a certain age who care about how they look. So nobody was eating the Borders biscuits. And then lunch came and it was some sandwiches and there was nothing for dessert. And then there was an afternoon thing and I thought, Jesus, if there were Mighty Slice slices here available through the caterers but every single female founders event, there are so many of them. I mean, that's where Marisa's just gone.
Catering is good.
Yeah,
you
that
should
could
go
be
after that.
Just, but in terms of sampling, even if it was break even, you know, as well as your gym goer, I think, you know, for people like me, that's a thing.
I think it's also okay to not break even too. I think that it's very easy to get caught into, I can't do this because it costs a lot. And yes, it does. Like, and, we burnt money for a significant period of time, and we are venture funded. I know you asked before. We've been venture funded significantly, thank God, and debt funded by our government to build our facility. But in order for us to grow, you need to sometimes spend the money and try things. And if you don't try, you will never know. Wayne Gretzky, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's a great Hall of Famer hockey player, always said, I think something on the quotes paraphrase, 99% of the shots you don't take will never hit or never go in. It's impossible. So I think that sometimes it's important to fail or to try and spend in order to get it going. Our Costco Roadshow, we didn't make money, but it got us into Costco, which led to a huge success of new team members, of new marketing spend that we were able to spend on, growth, manufacturing efficiencies. Again, it was a very heavy cost that we were unsure of because it was expensive, 12 days, full-time staff, samples for free almost. You're selling it at a very interesting cost. So I think that sometimes if you have a gut feeling that says that you shouldn't break even on something, and maybe it's the catering or an airplane that could take your stuff at a low cost, the exposure could lead to a massive opportunity. So I
see it as marketing in your marketing budget.
Learn how to train that eye.
Did you, when you were putting together your P&Ls back in the early days when you had to start doing that, did you put a line in for product samples?
I am the worst P&L person. My CFO,
Which is your
my
business.
My CFO can't look at me. I love her dearly, but she sent me a message before coming here. You went over budget. Did you know? I said, yeah, but I'll get it back some other way. Don't worry.
Clever.
She's like, it's not how things work here anymore. I'm like, okay. I'll sell something to get it. But long story short, I actually studied to be an actuary. So I don't know if anyone knows actuary is.
Incredible. So you actually have that training.
But I'm brutal at math, which is what's
weird.
But
you got the degree.
I do. Yeah. Well, hold on. Failed miserably. Oh. Did it because we talked about authenticity before, but I did it to prove to people that I was academically smart, and that's what killed me during that process. But I ended up becoming an entrepreneur because I couldn't get a job in it. So it led me to Midday Squares because I was unable to get the job. But I think that from a P&L perspective today, yes, we have a line item that says product giveaway, and what that is
so important to everyone.
What actually came to you guys here is a product giveaway.
So important having that in your budget.
You have to have it. Take it into effect. And for me, it's gone up every year, obviously, but even if you send it to a random person, you don't know what that does to that person. It could be a gift that someone takes emotionally and says, I want to go give this to the buyer at British Airways to put your product in. You don't know. We got into Whole Foods Canada because a customer bought our product and was like, I know the buyer, I'm gonna go give it to this person. I gave that person merchandise like crazy. And even if it costed me so much money, because at the end of the day, they went on and did me a favor, right? So I think that
especially if it's chilled, right? And you've got 30 days life and you know that the retailer or the customer is not gonna take it under 10 days and it's optimal, still optimal until 6. You've got between 10 and 6, you've got to have your supply chain exec who's working with your marketing exec. Okay, what are we gonna do with that product this month to make sure that product between 10 and 6 that's covered by that line in the P&L is going somewhere where it's going to create new business opportunities.
And don't always think ROI. I think that the moment you think ROI all the time is when you take away serendipity at that point. The trips costed $50,000 one year. That's a lot of money for travel for one person. And, what I responded back to them was when they said that's a lot of money, I said, you're right. I said, but the problem with that is I said, the ROI is not instant. It's not short term. It's happening in long term. And then when I reminded them that the reason why we got our venture fund was because of one of those trips, that saved the company and ended up allowing us to grow. But that's what I'm trying to say is we are part of a society that is so short term in thinking. We think in quarterlies, unfortunately, like even public companies. You know how hard it is to report quarterly on a success story or anything like that? It's very difficult. So instead of looking at it from that, zoom out. Zoom out. And if you create a culture in your company of zooming out, I promise you will do things that you swing on that will have a way higher return down the line or a huge failure. But at least you give it a chance rather than a slow death the other way, in my opinion.
Can I just say, you are one of the most articulate guests we've ever had on the show. Like, how articulate is this guy in terms of... No, but it's to do with the way in which the clarity of his thinking and the way he puts it out there. I just think it's absolutely fucking amazing. I really do. Seriously, it's such a talent, because it's something that's... No, most people find it really...
uncomfortable.
But most people find it really difficult, and it's a real superpower. Any more questions?
What percentage of P&L should be allocated to giveaways? How do you sort of allocate that?
We spend, percentage-wise, I don't know the number, but I'll give you perspective. For me, I have every month, so just Jake has, it's called Rainmaker. We have Rainmakers in here. I have $1,500 per month to spend on just giveaways. Sales team has a lot more on both US and Canada. And then there's customer experience that has way more as well, because of like melted bars and things like that. So it's actually a significant dollar value. I would say it's well over, over the year, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, again, it's critical because, for example, if you're a customer that ordered it, you're in Phoenix and it's sunny, 40 degrees Celsius, not 100 plus degrees, and you get chocolates and they get to your door and they're completely melted, and you spend $110 on these 2 boxes or 3 boxes, you'd be livid. And I understand why. So as to resend it, we got to now send it again, express, ice packs, everything. It's costly, right? So, but if I didn't have it, I lost you for good. And I don't know what else you can do. You can now tell other people who maybe are, again, a buyer of a retail store that they didn't even care. Boom, lost that account potentially, right? So I think that you need to have a significant amount at the beginning. Obviously, be cautious with your money. Don't get out of control. It's very easy to send free products to people and free events, charities. It's always good to do charity. But if it takes you into a danger zone in your business, you gotta be very careful. Yeah, tone it down. So we've toned it down in certain things, but my family they pay for my product. Like, we pay for our product. My wife's father likes to try to get free stuff. Golf tournaments. You ever hear that one? Golf tournaments. So I know, but sometimes you gotta give it a cost. And I think that also we have a 60-person team that they gotta be employed, right? So it's gotta be a fine balance, but definitely a significant percentage as you continue to grow, 100%, especially new countries.
Steve.
It's a question on people. It's to both of you, so it's Shani and Jake. So Shani, numero uno, obviously employee, which essentially I saw a post recently from Google saying everyone needs a Shani. Look at that post that says.
Actually, you know who said that? It wasn't me. It was Richard Reed from Innocent who said everybody needs a Shani.
Everyone needs a Steve as well.
Yay!
But so a question for both of you. So what gave you the conviction at Perfect Ed 3 years ago? Because no one would know. You had a question for me, right? So what gave you the conviction around the category, the brand, and the product to want to join? But also for the founders in the room and also listening, most of them will be making important decisions on that next hire, so that next important hire. So what gave the founders the conviction on you? And I guess Jake, the same question to you after Shani. What gives you the conviction in people that you're...
So is it like, how do you make decisions about key hires? What is it?
Why did you buy into it?
So the way that I kind of look at whether I want to work for a challenger brand, and I've worked for challenger brands in food and drink for 7 years now, is I won't actually look at the product or the branding or the marketing. I look at the founders. So you'll hear a lot of investors will say the same thing. So they'll say, when I'm looking at whether I want to invest in a business, I'm not actually looking at the product or the branding. I'm looking at who are the people behind the business. And I see it in exactly the same way, because for me, I'm investing my most valuable resource, which is my time, my energy into these people. So when I met with Teddy, Marisa, and Levi on a Saturday morning, and I had no idea why they wanted to meet me so urgently and what was going on, I said to them, I believe you're going to be the next Innocent Drinks, and regardless of my decision of whether I join or not, I know that this business will be successful because of you, not because of the product. I genuinely believe that they could sell ice to Eskimos, and they could sell anything and it would be super successful because of them. In terms of...
and you didn't join for a while, did you?
I know Teddy likes to say this a lot. So I did say no, not because I didn't believe in the business. I said it's not a no, it's a not right now because I just joined another startup and I'd only been there for
She'd
6
been made
months.
country manager from wholesale exec to country manager. It was a massive leap, absolutely well
He
deserved.
helped coach me through the whole thing, so thank you so much.
Give that up, right? You couldn't give that up being a country manager all of a sudden. So it wasn't right. You had to give that a go.
I had to give it a go. They taken a chance on me and vice versa. I'm actually meeting with my ex-boss from that company next week. Yeah, we talk regularly and she's amazing. And
She sent me samples last week at the bars.
she's amazing. So yeah, I actually said no. Teddy didn't talk to me for a couple of weeks. Marisa said, you know, I really believe in like what will be, and that the universe will find a way to make it work. And yeah, 3 months later, I was speaking to them again and they said, when are you going to stop being stupid and accept this job offer? And I said, okay, well, let's maybe talk. And then, yeah, I joined the business. It'll be my 3rd anniversary on the 21st, I think, of September.
So it was about the people.
100%, because do you look up to these people? Do you want to be stuck in the mud with these people? Do you believe in their ability to get you out of the mud? And will you follow these people into a burning building? And I would follow them into a burning building every single day, regularly.
That's amazing. What about you? How do you make decisions about people you're recruiting?
Strength versus weakness. So what we're not good at, we hired that people we're great at. I think that, you know, as a founder, you want to do everything, and then you start to realize you're pretty shit at a lot of things. For me, I was the CMO when I started the company, and that was simply out of ego. And then I stepped down, and I became the rainmaker because that's what I was good at, making friends. And
Well, that is so clever.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You basically took everything that you're good at and gave it you named it, framed it, and claimed it.
100%. Put my and
Love
you know,
it.
and at the end of the day, like, you know, the Entrepreneur Mag did a whole article on stepping down as CMO, and I think it's an important article because a lot of times we stay in things because we think we have to, or we think that, you know, our ego is telling us to. And the best freedom I've had in my life was the moment I said to myself, yo, I'm not good at this. I'm a horrible manager. And even though I own this third of this company, I don't need to be a manager. I could be managed. I want to be managed. Yeah. And that was the best decision I made. And I realized that every hire we've made is someone that's really good at what we're not good at, or what our team might not be great at, and they fill that position and it continues to grow. And the second part of that is, other than skill set, is do they believe in the vision and culture that we're trying to create? For us, we're unapologetic. We have cameras rolling all the time. Do people like that? Number one, if you don't like that, it's going to be really uncomfortable for you to join Midday Square. So we're very transparent on that. And then I think the most important thing is all of you have access to this. Every single individual has access to this. You know when someone's good. Your gut will tell you the direct way is, do you like him or her? Is this person a good feeling or not? And 90% of the time, that's right. And it's subconscious. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's conscious. But every time we didn't follow our gut and we went for like titles and like stats from previous jobs that they had, wrong hire. Every time we followed the gut, they've still with us today. So I think that that's the 3 things we look for: is values and alignment on that, is gut feeling, and then their skill sets are stronger than what we're not really good at. They fill that void.
But it's probably worth saying, I think, that for anyone who's built a business to 10 million, let's say, you know, which hopefully a lot of you are doing or are going to get there, you will make mistakes, particularly with your first senior hires, and they will be horrible mistakes. And you will have to unpick something where you've brought someone in who you thought has got amazing experience at commercial director level, and they'll be more senior than you in the way you look at them, and they have more experience. Little by little you go, oh God, I wasn't expecting that. And oh God, I could have done that better myself. And oh God, I don't think, and it'll all be compounding until you have to pull the plug. Just know that it happens to everybody. And secondly, know that if they've got a long enough trial period, right? So at that level, you want 6 months, that you've got to be on it. You can't wait until 5 months and 29 days to make the decision. You need to be thinking about it all the way through and almost going into it knowing this may not work, and that's okay, because it happens to everybody. We all make that mistake up front, and you don't make it a second time because you realize that people don't change. I don't believe that people change. I think if you give people feedback the first time around and they act really quickly on it, and you see, okay, they really got that. They totally changed course. They got it. They moved, and you know, it's all okay, fine. But if they don't course correct, and it happens a second time, and a third time, it's pretty much dead in the water, and it's just a matter of time.
You'll know when it fails. You'll do not wait. It sounds morbid, but like you have a feeling fire. It's more hurting. It will hurt your business more to hold somebody that's not meant to be there when they know it and you know it, and you're just waiting for something else to happen. It happens to multiple businesses, and you see it, and it could cause a lot of wreckage within a business if someone's not aligned and the company's not aligned.
Yeah.
It could cause other teammates to be like confused, and then you're not protecting those other teammates who you promised to protect by simply keeping someone that's not meant to be there for the sake of fear that something will happen if you fire. And I think that our culture has got into this way, and I think that we need to make sure that we build a company based on a great zone for people, a great environment for people, but also meritocracy is a big thing, and working hard is critical. And we've made mistakes, tremendous mistakes, and we're still far from perfect, but we've gotten better at hiring and better at firing, and that's changed the business tremendously.
Some more questions. Paul, you've got to have a question. Come on. So can I just tell you who Paul is? I told you about Paul. Paul was one of the guys who sold Innocent Coke.
Oh, cool.
So like this is like
Congrats.
one of
So I guess it's an exit question, which is, what are the key motives? What are the key things that are going to excite you about your exit? Obviously, money's the easy one, and you could get moralistic about who you want to sell to. It's got to be the right partner, but genuinely, what do you think is going to excite you about that buyer, if it ever comes?
I think from a personal mission standpoint, I think at first when I started this business, my ex-girlfriend broke up with me after 4.5 years, and I was devastated. I was heartbroken, which heartbreak is a great thing. If you've been through it, it leads to greater things. And I also closed my other business. I went bankrupt in my other business. So I was in a really big depression, actually, and I needed something to keep me busy. And my partners today came up to me and said, let's do this together. And I was like, okay, I can't even try the product, so let's just do it because I like making noise. And I ended up meeting my wife also. It was one of the best things in my life. But I think that the vision then for me was, can we sell this for hundreds of millions, if not billion? And like, let's drive with that. And then as time went on, I started to realize the pain of building a business, which I'm sure you know and everyone in this room knows, is it needs to be more than money, because money it's definitely a tool that helps with a lot of things, or can help with a lot of things. But then it's not enough to deal with that amount of pressure and pain over a significant period of time, and relationships that fall apart, sacrifice. So I started to realize what really drives me? And it's not selling the company of Midday Squares, but for me, it's about inspiring. It's gonna sound really cheesy, but it's truthful, and my wife will defend me on this, is about inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs to be bold and take risks. And what I've learned is sharing your story is one of the most powerful things that any individual, whether you're an entrepreneur or a professional, can do. And I wanna show everyone, specifically in Canada, because that's where I'm from, that you can do anything you want if you truly believe delusionally and you share your story, because we are building a chocolate company against all odds in a space that is so saturated, in a space where it's not even meant to work. It's almost impossible, which businesses like CPG are almost impossible, but we did it our way. We didn't do it a traditional path. We decided to stay unapologetic, share therapy sessions, do music videos, get naked on the highway and do crazy shit, show up to the first Wall Street meeting and with my nipples out, blasting music in an Oakwood room, and they were confused. And it was one of the best moments of my life because it was hilarious. But if I could show that we could win in whatever winning is defined as, then I've done everything I needed to do, whether that's an exit or not. Now, if we do exit, the partner I want is just somebody that believes in storytelling and believes in the innovation that we create. That being said, once I pass this business on, whoever takes it, it's now their control, right? And as much as you could do on the outskirts, you could promote, do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, once you pass on the keys, you pass on the keys. So do we really want to pass on the keys is the big question.
The issue will be if you have to pass on the keys but stay on for a certain period of time.
But like,
will be difficult.
honestly, I love making noise. I'm a rainmaker, so I like to make friends. If I can continue making friends for as long as we can, 100%. If I can do things like this helps Midday Squares, but it also helps me make new friends like yourself who I didn't know prior, right? Or we didn't meet physically prior. So that's me being on my journey. And I don't know if Midday Squares will be 10 chapters of my book, or will be one chapter, or it could be the whole book. I'm okay with all of them. I think that's the key. And I'm also okay if it fails. And I think that this sounds morbid, but I've accepted that this could go bust and fail. And I'm okay with that because of the experience that I've had. And I know that I could go achieve other things because of what I learned. But I'm still going for the big outcome, But knowing that failure is possible has helped me with freedom on this journey.
Hi, I'm Shabir from Casino, Middle Eastern food brand. If I asked you, Jake, what do you sell? What would you say?
Boldness. Boldness. I think that's what that's what I'm at least striving to sell. I think that at the end of the day, like most things are commodities. Yes, we manufacture, something that's very difficult to manufacture, but some of these bigger corps can figure out with R&D and food science, and they can figure it out. What they can't figure out is how we make our consumers feel. That's not something you can copy. Your DNA and your story is something that's completely unique to you or your brand.
God, that's so clever.
Nothing else is unique, right? Because at the end of the day, like, we've landed people on the moon, like, sure as hell someone could figure out a midday square, right? So
Can we just say that again? Sorry, I'm just thinking for the people that I'm currently working with, right, in this room. They can figure out your recipe, they can figure out your packaging, but they can't figure out how you make your consumer feel. That is so powerful. I love it. Thank you.
So yeah, I think that's the feeling that we're trying to offer is like, be bold. We're trying to sell the afternoon snacking moment. So basically your 2 p.m. crash, can we pick you up on your 2 p.m. crash, give you something both indulgent and functional, but not too sweet. I think that's the customer we're attacking, your everyday snack at 2 p.m. And that's why we're trying to build a platform for afternoon snacks. So we could go into other things other than squares. 5 Hour Energy, have you seen that company? Yeah, they tell you what they're selling. It's a little bottle that says 5 Hours of Energy. You chug it down, you feel like you're on fire for the time being. I don't know if it's good or bad. But what we did is we said, well, if we try to own a moment of the day, then it gets into someone's habits, right? And it doesn't just happen once. It's like, oh yeah, I need my midday square, just like some people need their Starbucks coffee in the morning. Like if you go into that, you start to lean into something that's, again, a moment of somebody's day, which is consistent, right?
Can I add on to that?
Yeah,
So
please.
with Perfect Ted, which I think actually came from when Teddy and Marisa were on your program, they came up with our mission is to spread positive energy. And so when we look at that, obviously that comes through our products because we're all about positive energy, so slow release energy, no jitters, no crashes. But actually what that did was become a theme throughout us in the company. So when we would jump on bio calls, when it was like literally just me and Teddy on sales calls, we would say, look, actually, like, yeah, of course, we'd love to work with you and we love what you're doing and we can tell you a bit about the brand. But if you come away from this call feeling happier than you did when you came on at the beginning, then we've won. That's success. And actually what that did is that helped us build relationships with our buyers where we can WhatsApp them, we can text them, we actually have a genuine friendship and relationship with them, which is amazing. And then how that plays into other areas of businesses. Sampling, it's all about like making people, it's not just like, here's the can, enjoy. It's like, we're Magic Perfect Ted, like how are you doing? It's so hyped up in energy. I know you're very similar, but that thread like really feeds throughout the whole business. So
That is I'm going to use that in a case study in next year's. That is amazing. So in Chobani, when we were working in Chobani, I remember having a row with Hamdi. Well, not a real row, but an argument with Hamdi. A row is a
exchange of views.
Yeah, like a heated exchange of views with Hamdi Ulakai of we're sitting in a restaurant in Dublin. But I said to him, we're doing a big sampling campaign around the Tesco's. Every Tesco that we're in the UK, we're going to do sampling. And I need to decant the pots into smaller pots because each pot cost me £1. £1. He said, you're not decanting the pots into smaller pots. And I said, yeah, but I'm going to be giving out like 350 pots in a day. I said, I can't. I have to decant them into smaller. That's what we do. That's what we do. He said, you are not. In Chobani, we give away the whole pot.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean the whole pot? And he said, because our core value is generosity. And everybody needs to know what it is like to scoop into the white mass, as we called it, and the real fruit puree and get a bit of both. And then at the end of it, you've only got the fruit puree and you've got all those different combinations. He said, I want everyone to have that entire experience. And it was that generosity, that got that grassroots moving.
Especially at the early stages, you should all be giving everything you can. Obviously, as you scale, things will change, but I think that caring and authenticity should be injected in the organization at everything from customer experience to sales meetings to your manufacturing, your supply chain. If you are claiming that this is your true authenticity, don't use it as a buzzword, actually live through it. And as you scale, obviously when you get to hundreds of people, thousands of people that work with you, it's a little harder. But at least in the early journey, that's your competitive edge. You have a competitive edge. Make those people feel everything that you're telling us. Show them that through action. And I think that one way we do it still, with millions of customers, we try at least, is every time that someone sends a mention on Instagram or something of Midday Squares, they'll take a picture. That means that they're willing to show our brand to people and be proud of that. I'm going to take 10 to 20 seconds to go and say thank you to them. And what I do is I take my phone out and I send a 15-second video. Hey, this is Jake. Whatever your name is, I say the person's name, and I look at something on their profile that's like personal, maybe a dog or something, and I thank them personally, and it's a real video. It's not AI, it's none of that stuff. And that makes them realize that shit, this brand is authentic. They actually care. And all it takes is 15 seconds, 20 seconds to make someone feel something so deeply, because no one, unfortunately, a lot of brands in the world don't do it anymore. And AI, as good as it is, the humanization is disappearing faster than ever, and people are craving more humanization. And if you were smart as a brand, you would go to the next era of the world and be the humanized brand while using AI to empower your business in other ways. But when it's a touch point with a customer, you make them feel deeply of that humanization. I promise you, you will be different than everyone else.
So can I take this moment to say thank you, Jake? Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Perfect Ted. A big shout out to the Perfect Ted team who has done so much work. Led by Rami, who's been the most amazing event organizer, and I really appreciate every single one of you. You have really made this such a fabulous event. Thank you to Nate and everybody in Lucky Saint who has supported us by giving us this room and everything else. Also, thank you to, I wanted to say thank you to Goodrays CBD, there's some samples on the back. Perfect Ted has actually left you a goodie bag for everyone to take home, which is at the back. There's Midday Squares to taste. You're probably amongst the first in the UK to taste them.
Yeah.
So it has been an honor and a privilege, and I am so glad we actually get to meet in person. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to that. I can't tell you how excited I was to record these last 2 episodes with Jake and with Marisa and Shani in front of a live audience. I mean, I was pretty anxious and scared, it has to be said, particularly given that I had new podcasting equipment and was setting that up by myself live. But it was just brilliant. I mean, I learned so much from these 2 businesses, so much from these founders. I really hope you did too. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please think about a friend or a founder or a colleague who might enjoy these episodes too. Send them on. And please click follow, subscribe to Brand Growth Heroes on your podcast app so we can continue to get the best guests, have the best events, and bring the best value to you.